the Lord of Hatred himself, Mephisto. I heard a voice then, like 1,000 needles in my heart.
My brothers, at long last we stand reunited. The Infernal Gate has been prepared, and the time of our final victory is at hand. Let the way to hell be opened.
To many, Mephisto is simply a villain, having lost just as many skirmishes for the Burning Hells in the Eternal Conflict as he'd won, including losing to the High Heavens outside of their gates due to bickering with Baal and Diablo over the spoils of war pre-victory. Not to mention being the first prime evil to fall in Diablo 2 and suffering devastating defeat after defeat on Sanctuary to mere human heroes throughout the Diablo series. But in reality, Dul Mephistos, the Lord of Hatred, commonly referred to as Mephisto, is a complete and utter genius. A ruthless, cunning and brilliant tactician, many, including Deckard Cain, claim that Mephisto is the most intelligent and cunning of the prime evils. There are some who believe that if there is truly a leader among the Burning Hells, it is Mephisto. There is certainly evidence that Mephisto himself believes this to be the case, declaring that
where I am is hell.
It is said that Mephisto was most adept at pitting his brothers against each other. Diablo and Baal chafed at his manipulations, but more often than not, they complied. To see if you share the same conclusion, we must first delve into Mephisto's own storied history and past that showcases his insidious machinations, which directly lead to the events of Diablo 1 and the fall of Tristram, plus his mastery of hate, which makes him profoundly gifted tactician, able to manipulate even his brothers, and what that means for Diablo 4.
The righteous shall fall before the wicked, and all creation shall tremble before the burning standards of hell.
What I saw then was not meant for mortal eyes.
The gate stands ready.
The Great Conflict. Like all of the prime and greater evils, Mephisto was born from one of the 7 heads of Tathamet. His realm in the Burning Hells was the realm of hatred, and he watched with joy as its denizens schemed and warred against each other. As with all of demonkind, Mephisto warred against the High Heavens in the Eternal Conflict. One of these battles bore angels right into the heart of his lair, making an attack against Mephisto himself. One of the angels managed to draw blood, causing it to spill onto the ground, and this led to the creation of his magma demons, who rose up to defend their master and drove the angels back. Mephisto and his brothers almost achieved victory against the High Heavens at the 5th Battle of the Diamond Gates. However, confident of their victory, the Primes argued over who would get the spoils of war, and thus their attack failed.
Maintain the illusion of our discord, Diablo.
After Mephisto's own daughter Lilith and Denarius had absconded with the Worldstone, Mephisto proved incredibly perceptive that the balance of the Great Conflict had somehow soured.
Cursed am I to lead an army of the blind. They do not perceive that the angels are fleeing this realm, and the ones they find are merely trapped or lost. A great change is upon us. Withdraw from the fields, my brothers. Some battles can only be won with words.
Enough of your idle speculation, Mephisto. I breached the fortress and saw it firsthand. The Worldstone is gone. The angels I killed knew nothing about it. But since you are so perceptive, maybe you remember who else has been missing. Lilith. We must find her. Rip her limb from limb. Take the Worldstone back.
You are all deceived, my brothers. A new age has already begun. Can you not sense them? Ugly creatures born in shadow. They feel terror, hatred, and the desire to destroy. Yes, but they are not ours yet. They will open their world to us very soon. An invitation we cannot refuse.
Although the Sin War ended with a truce between heaven and hell, the two original culprits' fates were both intertwined with Mephisto's. As Inarius had banished Mephisto's own daughter Lilith to the Void, Mephisto was gifted Inarius by heaven as a token of peace.
Can you put aside our differences long enough for us to ensure victory, demon?
A truce then. And who shall you grant to me this time, Ariel?
And Mephisto gleefully tore Inarius' eyelids off, made him stare into his own twisted reflection as he slowly ripped his wings off and tortured him for eternity. After the Primevals had orchestrated their own exile into Sanctuary to further subtly solidify the powers of hell over man, Mephisto was the first of the three to be captured. However, this outlines the undeniable cunning and power over hate that Mephisto exudes.
The evil of Mephisto, Lord of Hatred, was so pervasive that even after he had been defeated and entombed in a soul stone, his demonic essence oozed upwards into Travancore and corrupted the Zakharum priests. Though he fell to the same heroes who killed his brothers, I fear for us should he ever return.
During their hunt for him, the Horodrim led an army against the Fortress of Bone. But the common soldiers found themselves hard-pressed to advance against the seemingly endless tides of undead that he summoned, and were nearly overwhelmed. Eventually, Mephisto was found in and around one of the urban centers of Khezestan. The fight cost many innocent lives, but eventually the Horodrim, to their credit, succeeded in defeating the Lord of Hatred and imprisoning his essence inside the Soul Stone, as they did with the other prime evils. It was then entrusted to the Zakharum priests and kept sealed in the Guardian Tower of the Temple of Light. Over the generations, Mephisto showcases his scheming abilities and was able to corrupt the High Council of Zakharum, and the body became a mockery of its former glory. The first signs of this were as early as the 11th century. 2 centuries after this, Mephisto cemented his control over the church. He'd been able to overcome the Soul Stone, something even his brothers had not, enough to have the Zakharum priests to work spells to shatter the Soul Stone into 7 shards, breaking the mystic seal and freeing him. The Kahag and Khalim proved immune to his corruption. So wickedly, Mephisto had the priesthood slay and dismember him. The priest, Sankikar, became the new Kahagan and consequently Mephisto's embodiment of the mortal plane. The corrupted High Council, now his own personal guard, and then he fashioned the compelling orb to control the rest of the Zakharum faithful and used their powers to conceal the lair of their master. This is a stroke of genius. He was imprisoned, he then bleeds out hate, takes slow, insidious steps to take control of the Zakharum, then uses them to actually guard him and takes over the whole faith in Kurast. Years passed and eventually Mephisto then sent the Archbishop Lazarus, with King Leoric and his people in tow, west to reawaken Diablo in the town of Tristram, which kicked off the events of Diablo 1. Although it is true that by the events of Diablo 2, the heroes had slain Mephisto in his endurance of hate. He was the first to fall by design, guarding his brother's way to corrupt the World Stone, a part of his own plan that in the end did succeed and changed the course of Sanctuary forever. Although his essence was later marked and absorbed by Adria the Witch, containing him in the Black Soul Stone and becoming the prime evil of Diablo 3, by Reaper of Souls, his essence was loosed again upon Sanctuary once more. As Mephisto has stated, where I am is hell. And we already have one of the 7, Duriel, confirmed in-game on Sanctuary, which means that in whatever form Mephisto takes, his hate will always persist. And with his daughter Lilith's return and a one-time lover Inarius confirmed to be in Mephisto's realm without a jailer, the question is, will Mephisto once again scheme against Sanctuary? Will he fight Inarius to reclaim his realm of hell if he's free and causing havoc there, or manipulate him and Lilith directly? Surely we can't see his daughter and Inarius without the infamous father-in-law to come back. One thing is absolutely for sure. As long as hate endures, so does the father of hate himself. As we know, Sanctuary is rife with it in the events of Diablo 4. Will he return? Only time will tell.
But I know these dreams. They tell of the future. Hell is coming, brother.